All right, so today is June 27th, 2025, and this is my trading account update. Our total equity, we are down from yesterday, so we're sitting at $54,000, $54,007.69. Our cash balance in CAD is $56,060.59. Market value decreased from yesterday, so negative $2,052.90. Our open profit and loss is $432.40, and today's profit and loss $4,184.91, and that is because we closed out some positions. If we didn't do that, we'd probably be in the negatives. But I'll show you what we did today. I think we made a lot of moves today, actually. So let's just check our balances. So the first thing we check, our USD cash balance. So towards the top right there, we're sitting at $19,105.26. Our combined, our max buying power in CAD is $12,836.56. So we finished the week positive. We're going to let a bunch of contracts expire, and then we're just going to reset and kind of reserve some buying power for future moves if needed. So these are the ones from yesterday. So the ones that we rolled, they were going to expire today, and we rolled them out 2 weeks to 144, 146, and 148. They are now slightly green, so we're just going to hold on to those for 2 weeks. AMD is currently sitting at, let me just check here, $143.59 post market. So it is pretty close to these strikes. I do think AMD is hitting a little bit of resistance. I'm hoping that it does pull back just a little bit and then continues to run up through the rest of the year. Our long calls here, so they're doing their job. They're just kind of acting as protection, some insurance as we continue to write these calls. So out of the three here, one is still naked. We will probably buy one, but buy a call for a long dated call. But we're just gonna wait. Let's say, if everything plays out, if AMD goes down to in the 130s short term, then maybe that would be a good time to buy that call, that long dated call, and then we can continue to write calls against those, because right now one is still uncovered. This one here, so this 145 call, we talked about it yesterday. We had 3 contracts there, and we sold it at like something ridiculously low, $10. Today we ended up closing it. I think we closed it midday sometime for a $272 loss. In hindsight, now that we've finished the trading day, I didn't actually need to close it, but sometime during the day, AMD was above 145. I just felt like, it's looking somewhat strong. It may hold up, it may continue to go up, and I just did not want to risk it. So I ended up closing it. Once again, in hindsight, I didn't need to, but I'd rather close it out for a $272 loss rather than the stock, blow past the strike price, and then I have to roll or buy it back at an even bigger loss. And these are naked as well. So yeah, better to reduce risk. I just wish we either, so I guess the lesson learned from this is, why even bother with these 5 delta or less naked calls when the potential for losing money is so much higher. So that's the first thing, is maybe stop writing these very low delta calls 1 week out with lots of volatility. So that's the first lesson. Second lesson, probably shouldn't have written 3 contracts. So if I'm going to do a risky play like that, maybe don't write 3 contracts. At the same time, AMD was like 130 last week, so this is kind of a pretty big move. I'm glad it didn't go way beyond, and I'm glad we were able to manage it, but we still took a loss there. Do I have anything else to say about this? Not really. I wouldn't have done anything differently in terms of closing it today. I would have still closed it. I just wish I would have timed it better, but it's so hard. It's so, so volatile. But AMD is really respecting the technicals right now. Around that 144, 145 mark, that's where we saw some resistance, and I would expect it to maybe pull back a little bit. I do think that is very healthy. Today we also closed out the 135, 137, and 139 puts that were expiring today. I could have left it, but once again, it's better to just take it off the table, reset for next week. We closed out the 140 put, closed out the 141 put, same thing. Just take the profit, de-risk, and reset for next week. By closing those, we also freed up some buying power, and so that leads us to this now. So for next week, I've set up some strikes at 131, 134, and 136. I'm hoping AMD has some support at the 134, 135, 136 area. I don't know when it's going to hit that. Like, it may continue to keep going up, but I would expect, sometime in the next week or two, or the next couple of weeks, I would not be surprised if these strikes get tested or even breached. If that does happen, that will be good for our July 11th short calls. So these should go down. It will be bad for our, so it's going to be good for these calls. So if AMD goes down, the value of these calls will go down. It's not going to be too good for these long calls, so 150, 160. The value of this will go down, but luckily we do have quite a bit of time, so we're just going to keep these on just for protection, just for insurance as we continue to sell calls. Okay, so we've gone through the new puts for next week. All right, so for gold, we closed out two that were out of the money and we're going to expire today, and we left one open to kind of just expire by itself today, and we went ahead and opened, let me show you here, so the 307 and the 309 short calls for next week. We also closed, let me just find it here. All right, so here we are. So we closed the 313 put and the 315 put expiring next week at a loss. So $600 loss-ish on each of those contracts for, $1,200, $1,300 loss. And we rolled those out all the way to September. So this isn't ideal, but it's just kind of what I wanted to do to manage this. So we're relatively deep in the money, very close to expiry. Although I'm pretty sure I won't get assigned, the assignment risk is still very, very high. And so to mitigate that risk, I kept the same strike and I rolled out for a credit. So each one I think was about $300-ish. I'll show you later, but that just buys us a little bit of time for gold to hopefully recover. I think the long-term outlook for gold is still good, but it is close to that all-time high level. It's had a really good run, so I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of pulls back a little more. The next support level, I think I'm probably looking at 290, but at least we've bought some time for this to play out, and I think my plan is I will continue to write calls around these strikes. So let's say from 317 to 315, continue to write weekly calls. If those strikes get breached, then keep the same strike and basically roll out. So that's my plan. I don't know if it's going to work, but I didn't expect gold to be like this volatile. It's not really that volatile, but when it's such a high value and you're moving 1 to 2%, these small percent changes can add up to some big dollar value changes. So these ones we've gone through. Oh yeah, I finally closed out the hood September 19th $55 put, and that's where all that profit and loss came from. So we close this out for a profit of $3,849. This will say this trade has been successfully defended. This one, once again, was all the way from March and April. It dipped. I sold a put. It dipped down a lot, and I rolled down and out till this level, and we were finally able to close it, relieve some buying power, and use that for some new trades. These ones are going to expire today. So Hood sitting at $83 right now, post market. So yeah, these ones should all expire. That will relieve a lot of buying power. We opened some up for next week, so 73, 75, and 76. Still very bullish on Hood, but it has also had a good run, so some pullback is expected, I think. I just can't say how much, but I'm long-term very bullish on Hood. NVDA, I think another all-time high, or yeah, let's see. So it's sitting at 157.35 now. So these ones are going to expire worthless. I will have a look at continuing to open up some, or selling some puts on NVIDIA. I just didn't want to do it today. So we'll see how NVIDIA goes next week, and I'll see if I can continue to make some plays there. Palantir is also a good target. So it was down like 7% today. I think a lot of people are bullish on Palantir, so it may be a good target to just sell, sell some puts, maybe like 120 or something like that, just to collect a little bit of premium. But we'll see next week. I'll show you all the orders. So I'm going to go all the way down. So from the morning, down at the bottom, we close out the 135 put, bought to close the 137 put for AMD. We sold to open 76 and 75 put on Hood for that premium there. We bought to close the 145 AMD calls for a loss. So you can see the first buy was at 142, the second buy was at $1, and the third buy was at 0.88. So yeah, we took the loss there, but just to mitigate risk. We have the 141 AMD put, which we bought to close for a profit. We bought to close the Hood $55 put for September for a profit. We sold to open Hood and AMD. So Hood $73 put for next week. AMD 136 and 134 put for next week. These are the rolls we did for gold. So the first one we closed the 311 and the 310 that were expiring today, just to relieve some buying power. We rolled out the gold contracts here to September. Actually, wait. Sorry, we sold to open some gold calls expiring next week at 307 and 309 for a little bit of premium there. We sold to open another 75 Hood put. We bought to close 3 contracts of the 140 AMD put. Sold to open 76 and $73 put for Hood. And we closed out these gold ones, we rolled out these gold ones till September. Same strike, 315. And wow, we did a lot today. Bought to close the 139 put for AMD, sold to open the 134 put and 131 put for AMD next week. And lastly, this was the second roll for gold. We closed out the one expiring next week at 313 and sold to open the 313 for September. So just buying ourselves a little bit of time as we let this trade play out. So that's it for today. Yeah, let's see how we go next week.